If there's like one thing that the big box retailers and really everybody should know is like, it's okay if it's not gonna be here, just tell me at least.
Communication.
Communication, yeah. Like I wish I would have approached it as, what do you have in stock? Like what can you deliver on?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I want to know. I don't need a million options of things. I'd rather have 10 options of something that can be guaranteed, that's in stock and can be delivered.
Have you ever wondered what's really going on in the minds of the construction pros who interact with your brand? Don't you wish you could just ask them? Not in a survey or focus group, just in a conversation. Well, today we're not going to be doing that. 2023 marked a historic shift in, frankly, a really weird housing market. Thanks in large part to COVID-era rent increases and a short-lived dip in interest rates, millennial homeowners finally outnumber millennial renters. But if you think this means droves of 30-somethings moving from city center to newly constructed, move-in ready homes in the suburbs, think again. In 2022, 80% of homes on the market were at least 20 years old. Surging material costs and long lead times caused a ripple in inventory that forced many prospective homebuyers to invest in projects. Homebuyers like my friend, colleague, and intrepid DIYer, Steve Bowman. Today we're headed to Raleigh, North Carolina to check out Steve's project home. He's going to show us around his one-man construction zone and give us some insight into how he's approaching renovations, choosing tools and materials, and forming brand loyalties. We'll have some beers and learn more about what matters most to a real DIYer when it comes to one of the most important investments they'll ever make. What Steve has to say might surprise me. It may even change the way I think about marketing and merchandising. But one thing's for sure, you never know what you'll learn when you have a beer with a DIYer.
Hey, Mike.
Hey, Steve. How's it going?
Good, man. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Come
Thanks
on
for
in.
having us.
Yeah, of course. Welcome.
Man, I'm excited about seeing what you've been working on.
It's been a lot. But we're pretty proud of what we got here so far.
Yeah, it's looking really good.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Cool. Well, let's start looking around,
Sure.
seeing what you've worked on.
Yeah, where do you want to start?
Let's start in the kitchen.
Sure.
Nice.
Yeah.
Kitchen, looking
Yeah.
good.
Thanks, man. No, we're really happy with it.
What projects have you tackled in the kitchen? Because I know kitchens are sometimes really big projects. What'd you start with?
No doubt. We started with paint.
Yeah, okay.
We redid the paint on the walls. We did the cabinets here too. We also replaced the fixtures on the cabinets as well.
So you repainted all the cabinets as well, because sometimes that's a big project.
It is. You know what? The little rollers come in handy.
Yeah.
They get the job done for you.
Get all the nooks and crannies in there, right?
Absolutely.
Cool.
Absolutely.
What else?
After they put in the sink and the countertops, we replaced the faucet.
Cool.
And
so this, all countertops are new?
All countertops are new, bar tops new, sinks new.
Wow. So have you installed this?
Installed the faucet.
Yep.
And the drain.
Okay. So you did all plumbing and some
did all the plumbing
projects?
Yep. We had a new two new valves in here, supply lines.
Wow.
And you know what the most important part is?
Looking clean
dry.
and dry.
Yeah,
dry.
exactly.
Outstanding.
You know, taking on plumbing as someone who's not a plumber can be very intimidating.
Yeah, sure.
But after just looking at some YouTube videos and calling some friends, we managed to get it done without flooding the place. So
that's awesome.
We're good about
That's
it.
outstanding. Cool. And so I've seen you've kind of replaced a lot of drywall in here.
Yep.
Reconfigured some things, and then is this? What are we looking at here? Backsplash?
Yeah,
You
we're
gonna do
looking
that?
at backsplash here. We're gonna do actually a vertical stack.
Okay.
As opposed to sort of that subway tile sort of look.
Yeah. That's gonna be good, but you're doing like authentic tile. You didn't go with this pre-made sheets and stuff.
Nope, we're gonna mortar, place the tile, grout it, the whole 9 yards.
You're doing some major projects.
Yeah, no, it's been fun.
Let's head upstairs.
Sure.
We can start up there.
Let's check it out.
Cool.
New carpet throughout the whole house. We painted these here black and redid the spindles as well.
Yeah. I like this color.
Yeah, thanks. No, we're happy with it. It's actually my daughter's room.
Okay.
Yep, and she picked the color herself.
It's a great color.
Yeah, it looks good, doesn't it?
Did you ever run out?
Yeah, we did. We weren't sure what exactly we were gonna need when we went back out to the hardware store, and we actually had to come back, get a picture of the paint can,
Yeah.
because it was a specific mixed color.
Sure, yeah.
I assumed that since we bought it from there, they would have it like in the system or
Yeah.
something like that, but not the case. So
always either keep a picture or keep it in the app or whatever.
absolutely,
Of your
if they
your
have
paint colors.
if there's an app that can do that, that'd be great.
Yeah.
We had to learn a lesson the hard way.
Yeah, because you've done a lot of painting in this house, and so keeping track with all
Every
that's
wall.
going to be every wall. Wow.
Yeah, every single wall.
Well, let's go look at some more walls.
Yeah, sure.
All right, this room looks great. I'm guessing it didn't start out that way. So what have you worked on in the bedrooms?
As you can see, fresh coat of paint.
Yeah.
The biggest thing was the popcorn ceilings. This was
yeah.
all popcorned up here.
Yeah.
Using a little spray nozzle, we got it wet
Yeah.
and took big, wide putty knives
Yep.
and scraped the whole thing down.
Okay.
Which, do that before you put floors in, because it gets messy.
That's a great tip. That's a
Yeah.
great tip. I love it.
The popcorn revealed that these creases had a lot of holes in them. Like the drywall
really?
wasn't, yeah.
Okay.
So we did a lot of mudding, taping, mudding,
Yeah.
sanding, repeat.
Yeah, I think anybody that's taken on these projects is going to find that whenever you've got popcorn ceilings or a lot of molding or whatever, people will hide their mistakes behind that. So you'll uncover some things. Be ready for that when you're doing your DIY projects, right?
I learned that. That's for sure.
It came out great though.
Thanks. We like the creases. It adds a lot to the room. It makes it different and
Yeah.
interesting. New carpet, obviously, too, but we had it professionally installed,
Yeah.
but we did remove the old stuff.
So you ripped up the old carpet?
Oh yeah, ripped up the old carpet. We took up tack strips and staples and
Yeah.
all that fun stuff. We want to talk about another dusty, dirty job, ripping up that carpet.
So doing everything in sequence and kind of planning out your project so that you're doing the dirty stuff first
Yeah.
is helpful, right?
if you can help it.
Yeah,
You know,
well.
a lot of people can't, but it worked out well for us.
Cool. Well,
sure.
keeping things clean, I know, is a big part of a happy job site.
It's everything. I mean, it seems like you're just constantly sweeping and cleaning, and then the next phase of the project just gets everything dirty all over again.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting, Learn. What else have we done? What do we want to look at
We can
next?
check out the bathroom here.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Let's go look.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. A lot of work done here.
This looks really good. Were these floors like this? No way.
No. This was the really cheap linoleum.
Okay.
That rollout kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Glued down like crazy. So we were able to cut it up in a lot of places, but we also had to grind it down a little bit too.
Wow.
So we put in this penny round.
It looks awesome.
Thanks. Yeah, it's the stuff that comes in these like square sheets and
Yeah.
just mortar and grout and a lot of elbow grease. And
Yeah.
it turned out pretty good. We're happy with it. We put in this as well.
New vanity.
New vanity. That was fun, taking a big pry bar and busting out the previous one.
Yeah. Any headaches with that, or did it go fairly smooth?
Well, we were trying to kind of cut it out, and then finally we got frustrated enough with it that we then demoed it. So a little tight here, but we're happy with the layout for sure.
Yeah. Works great.
Yeah. This was another thing that we hooked up the sink and the plumbing and everything,
Nice.
and we had new valves there. Had to go to the hardware store a few times. It's amazing how many different valves they have out there. And so, one would look like it was like, oh, this is the right one, or the side that goes to the supply line wasn't the right size versus what gets actually hooked up to the plumbing.
Yeah. So finding the right one and not having to make a lot of trips.
Well,
is
yeah,
sometimes a challenge.
It's a challenge, especially because not every drain is the same.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
so you get plumbing for one drain down there, and it's not going to be the same for everyone, so you got to go back and exchange things.
Yeah. I know that's always a frustration, the multiple trips and stuff too. So anytime you can get the right materials that first time.
I've got a pile of receipts from Home Depot and Ace and stuff like that, where I could count out. I probably have been there 100 times.
Yeah. That's. I'm afraid that's the nature of it, but anytime we can avoid it, it's helpful,
Exactly.
right?
So right here was hardwoods before,
Okay.
and since we're on a slab, they're glued down.
Oh man.
It was a mess. That's taking a pry bar, like a wrecking bar,
Yeah.
and a hammer and just beating them up and
Oh
crying.
my gosh.
Didn't need to go to the gym for like a week.
I can imagine. So you pulled all the floors up.
Yep.
Any projects you did while you had all the floors and stuff out of here?
Yeah, we took out the floors first.
Yeah.
That way we didn't have to worry about putting plastic down for paint. We didn't have to worry about the sand from the drywall or the dust from the drywall getting into the floors. That was probably one of the best things about starting from kind of scratch.
Yeah.
Was the ability to pull out everything and not worry about getting it dirty. Yeah.
Floors are good.
Yeah, thanks. They're the LVP,
Okay.
vinyl plank.
Yeah.
We were thinking about doing hardwoods throughout the whole thing until we saw the price tag. It was $2,000 for the glue alone. And plus we've got dogs.
Yeah.
You know, and so they get scratched and things like that, where these things are indestructible from what I understand. Also, after messing with pulling up the hardwoods with the glue and everything, that solidified our decision.
Didn't want to do that again. Yeah, I totally get that.
It's pretty cool. They click into place. It's actually floating. So just me and my brother-in-law and father-in-law knocked all this out in about 2 days.
Nice.
Yeah.
Any other projects down here you want to show off?
We're pretty proud of the fence.
Let's go take a look at it. I want to see that.
Sure.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's looking good out here. So what have you done in the backyard?
We did a lot of landscaping, first of
Yeah.
all. I pulled out a bunch of little saplings, a bunch of weeds. This was all overgrown around the fence. Then we also painted it. It hadn't had a fresh coat, probably 20 years.
Looks good.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. And actually, over there, you can see where we've painted and where it still needs to be done.
Oh, yeah.
It's a big difference.
Yeah. Did you run out?
Yeah, I ran out. So.
Midstream run out. I'd understand that.
Yep. Yeah, I
Cool.
didn't realize, and we got like a 5-gallon bucket of this paint. I didn't realize this stuff, after a while, this wood soaks it up like a sponge.
Yeah, it really wants a new coat.
Exactly right. I think what we're most proud of, though, is our gate over here.
Yeah, it looks really good.
Yeah, there was no gate there before, and so it was a little challenging because it was on a hill.
Yeah.
But yeah, just bought a few slats and some 2x4s, and it shuts. So what more do you want?
That's great. And with having animals and dogs and stuff like that, having a good fence and gate, like that's a common project.
Being able to just let the dogs out
Yeah.
and just let them run.
Yeah, and not
just
having to worry about it.
Oh, it's a game changer.
Well, man, the house looks great. Thanks so much for having us. Let's
Yeah.
go grab a beer and sit down and chat for a little bit.
Let's do it.
Cool. Cheers.
Cheers, man.
Here we go.
Yes, sir.
I want to start kind of our conversation and talk through just kind of foundationally, what did you come into this project with? Like, what knowledge base did you have where you're like, I'm going to buy a place and I'm going to renovate it and do all this stuff myself? So did you come in knowing stuff, or walk us through that a little bit?
I mean, when I was a kid, I helped my dad finish a basement. But this has been 20 years or something, right?
Yeah.
So that knowledge had pretty much evaporated, but I've always kind of been half-assed handy. But as far as renovating a house, zero. I mean, call it zero.
Okay.
I was confident that we could get it done by leveraging, resources out there and friends and family. We knew we were tackling a big project. There was going to be a learning curve, and there sure was.
What was the motivation behind, like, I'm going to tackle this project myself?
Cost savings.
Yeah.
Was
Okay.
big.
Yeah.
This house checked all our boxes. It just needed every wall, floor, everything, all the cosmetic stuff, a little bit of repairs and things. But we looked at it and we saw the layout, and we saw the size of the rooms, the fact that it's got the fenced-in yard, corner lot, 2-car garage,
Yeah.
and all of those things together made it worth the risk and the investment and
Yeah.
the sweat equity and all that stuff.
And so
right?
you kind of got to a point where like, all right, we're going to take a leap of faith here
Yes.
and just tackle this ourselves. So you guys made the decision, and good process so far. Would you do it again, knowing what you know now?
I think it'd be easier doing it again. Of course,
For sure.
there probably would be new novel challenges that we didn't tackle here that we would face, but I would do it again. At no point did we just throw up our hands and say, we shouldn't have done this. What are we doing? Just keeping up the confidence in the end goal, of reminding ourselves of the vision
Yeah.
and why we did this. There was a few times where, you're kind of thinking, why did I do this again? But when you...
Those late nights when you're up.
Exactly. You know it. Keeping that sort of, and that vision of what it's going to look like, and once we move in, and just kind of keeping that in mind, got us where we are today.
Yeah, and you've gotten a long ways today. Like today, like you're getting close. You can see the finish line. There is light at the end of the tunnel. It's encouraging, I think, to a lot of folks that are watching this and kind of tuning in to hear that people are willing to take on these projects, because there are a ton of people that are coming into projects and coming into homes that need a little work. And more today, they're trying to do that work themselves. So I want to talk through some of the resources that you use to kind of figure out these projects. Where paint, a lot of people have done kind of a paint project or something before, but when you're getting into plumbing and tile and hanging blinds and cutting out sheetrock and stuff like that, how did you figure out how to do a project if you didn't know how to do it going into it?
The first thing I do is try to leverage my friends and family. There's a lot of handy people.
Always a good resource.
Exactly right. And especially when it's a new house, like your first house.
Yeah.
A lot of people want to get on board and help out because, they're excited for you and stuff.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of things that I didn't have a resource for either.
Yeah.
YouTube was big. I learned pretty quickly, don't start any projects before doing a YouTube video.
Yeah.
Leaky valves will fix that really quickly.
That'll teach you that lesson.
It'll teach you very quickly. Maya, my wife, she did a lot of picking out things and, getting ideas for things like the backsplash and stuff like that from like Pinterest and Instagram.
Cool.
She is big into looking on different accounts and stuff. Honestly, HGTV was a lot of inspiration came from there.
Yeah.
All of those home improvement shows, are pretty much playing at our house now, like pretty much all the time.
Yeah. Well, it's easy to get kind of inspired for some of these big projects, but then getting into the execution of it is not always the easiest. So were there any projects that you did along the way? I know you've kind of mentioned the blinds and stuff where it was either really tricky or it was really straightforward and the instructions and how to do it, it worked. Kind of take us through how that looked.
Sure. Like a lot of people, I'm a visual learner.
Sure.
And a lot of times the instruction manuals come and they're more technical or they don't give a lot of detail or anything like that. For me, seeing it done is all I need to have the confidence to take something on.
Okay.
All right. So that's where, again,
sure.
like YouTube and stuff like that, I just need to see it done. Again, like the HGTV shows.
Yeah.
You just watch somebody do it.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because actually here we were looking at the instructions. Didn't quite make sense. I kind of saw what they were doing, but we said, I wish there was a QR code that could take us to a video or something like that. And as soon as we said that, we found one.
There's a QR code right there.
Right there.
Scan for installation.
Exactly. And then it just showed somebody, clicking it in, and it was like, oh, now it all makes sense.
Yeah.
Now I see all of the components and how they go together, right?
Yeah, it clicked, pun intended.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
That's awesome. Any projects that you took on where the opposite was true and it was like the instructions weren't helpful, you kind of got into the middle of it and it was just frustrating?
Pulling up the floors definitely was something where there wasn't an instruction manual for that at all. And then even when you see people doing it on, a video or a TV show and they're just having a great time and they're coming right up.
Easier.
Yeah, it's like, every time they pull up carpet and look, there's beautiful hardwoods that have never been walked on. Like, so it was frustrating because there was no, I couldn't find a guide that said how to get the glue up off of the cement. And at the end of the day, it was just banging away at it and grinding away at it. And so there are some things that you can't, there's no video out there for because it's kind of unique to your situation, which that can be frustrating. Yeah.
Especially as a DIYer, because like we're coming up on these unique things to us and we see them once, right? And we may have the floors with like decade-old glue one time, whereas pros, they may run into that once a month. And they've seen that problem before, right? But they haven't always recorded a video to make it easier for guys like you and I that are trying to tackle it ourselves. Definitely still some room out there for education, for more information and stuff like that, especially as taking on projects becomes more mainstream, right?
Yeah.
Would you say that there's opportunity out there for manufacturers and other channels to come alongside DIYers more?
Absolutely. Myself and my friends that are buying houses and things like that. I mean, we want certain things, we want, like for me, the garage, the yard, and all of this. But to get a move-in ready house that checks all the boxes, it's impossible.
Yeah.
In an area you want to be in and something you can afford, it's impossible. So something's got to give somewhere, right?
Yeah.
And so, if I don't think I know anybody that is moving into a house that doesn't have to do something.
Sure.
We don't do this for a living, so we need all the help we can get, right?
Yeah.
I mean, being willing to take on anything is important. Knowing what not to take on and let a pro do is important.
Yeah.
But everything, in between, I'd take all the resources I could get.
Were there any that you were like, I'm not gonna do that one?
The biggest example I can think of is outside. We were using the spigot over here to kind of clean off the siding. And it was working fine when nothing was hooked to it. But then once we had the nozzle on it, it must have been something to do with the pressure.
Yeah.
But it started leaking into the house.
Oh my gosh.
I'm just glad my floors weren't in yet, which
oh my gosh.
that was valuable.
Yeah.
A lot of times. So I was kind of doing the mental calculus of the whole thing of it's probably a washer then, right, or something that is easily replaceable because it's fine and less pressure is added to it. And I'm staring at the outside of my house, looking at the spigot. And I'm this close to just digging in and trying to cut the siding and look behind it. And then I just kind of remembered, if I can't see the problem, it's probably something a pro should handle.
Okay.
Like if I can see it,
and
I can tell definitely what it is, then I'll take my first stab and tackle it. But if I can't see the problem and I got to start cutting things out, it's time to call a professional. And I'm glad I did.
Yeah.
Because they took a completely different approach and went in right here, cut a square about this big out, replaced a pipe, and they were done in about half an hour.
Okay.
And I'm glad I called them before I dug up the siding, because then I'd have to pay somebody to fix that too.
Right. Wow. Okay. So I like that kind of criteria of if I can see it and I can kind of visually understand what's going wrong or what's happening, then I can usually give it a shot myself. But if I can't see it and I don't fully understand the origin of the problem, that's when to call in the professionals. Right?
Yeah, you don't want to start guessing and start taking out chunks of your walls and just to find out that the problem wasn't even where you thought it was, and now you're fixing other
three new problems.
Exactly right.
I kind of want to shift gears into what was helpful for you. Obviously, we talked about YouTube resources. We talked about kind of good instructions as a resource from the manufacturer. Were there any retailers that were really helpful or not helpful along the way? And kind of how did you approach that retail experience? Because I know you've been spending a lot of time in hardware stores, right? Talk us through kind of the experience there.
We ran the gamut from the biggest big box down to local hardware stores, stuff like that. And it just really depended on what we needed. If we were looking for raw materials, like wood and stuff like that, typically we'd go to one of the bigger places.
Yeah.
But I did learn that you don't get the best customer service at some of the bigger places.
Yeah.
Employees there, they're not specialized in anything. They move around, and things like that. If I needed help with picking out the right product and the right material, we go to the smaller place.
Okay.
Because you walk in and they're like, hey, what project are you working on and how can we help you with it? To make you feel like they're just happy to help you, and they'll work through it like, well, what are you working with? What size are your supply lines or whatever, your drains and things like that. And that was, with all the stress and chaos that can kind of go into this big of a project, was like a lifeline. Just to have a human being care about your project and want to help you.
Yeah.
Probably not naming names on this talk, but there's a place I'm going to from now on for everything.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. I think a lot of people will resonate with that. Even the manufacturers out here that are watching this, they all have people that work there too that know the local guys and the local place that they go to, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of an interesting thing that you're thinking about, when you're needing raw materials, or maybe when you fully know how to do a project.
Yeah.
You're kind of more inclined to go to big box or something like that. Is that fair to say?
That's fair to say, especially starting out.
Yeah.
I've gotten enough help from a smaller place that I'm going to try to spend my dollars there.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, they just don't have some of the things.
Yeah.
There's 50,000 square feet of stuff, in a depot,
in a warehouse.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Do you find yourself making decisions like, hey, I'm going to go to the bigger place based on larger selection, maybe price conscious, like, or value driven things where I'm trying to get a good deal, and to the smaller place when I know I need help, or it's important to me to spend my dollars in the community kind of thing? Do you think like that? Or do you think of it more of like, by project, I know what I need, I don't know what I need? How do you approach those decisions?
Sometimes it hasn't been as much price motivated, as much as we needed to go to a big place because we had multiple projects we were working on where we needed to get a bunch of different things.
I gotcha.
And then it's kind of like you're already there.
So it's a convenience thing.
There's a convenience factor.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so if like I'm already here getting, like wood or something like that, lumber, and I know I'm gonna do my toilets, and so I might as well get the rings and like all the stuff we need for that. If it's like I'm working alone, I would definitely, gravitate towards, the smaller guy that can help me out.
Yeah, it's almost like having somebody work with you, right? Like,
it is. We had it recently with like one of the valves, like I didn't get the right thing and I came back and he's like, well, hey, obviously we missed something. What was it? And kind of he's like, oh,
I saw you coming.
Yeah, exactly. So, you feel like you got that extra, like, it's like having a friend around.
So that's kind of talking about the in-store experience. Let's talk about the online experience. You can't do a home improvement project without getting something from Amazon these days, right? So I'm sure shopping online has come into this. What was the experience like there?
When we got started, everything just looked like it was cheaper online.
Yeah.
You could save some money. And also, the ability to read the reviews. There's a convenience factor too if you don't need it right now, but it's going to come in 2 days.
Yeah.
Like that's huge, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if I know I've got fixtures to hang up, but it's not a rush and I don't have to go spend half a day, driving around, that's great. But sometimes they come in and they don't quite fit the space right. It looks good, but you find out like, well, we need more than one bulb in this light fixture for this space, for example, you know what I mean? And so there's been some returns and things like that. So if it's something that's a focal point, we're gonna get it in person. If it's something that is not necessarily a big prominent thing, why not? Get on Amazon or something.
Yeah, that's interesting. You mentioned reviews, especially shopping online. Have you guys found yourselves looking at reviews while you're shopping in the store ever?
I actually have a few apps that I'm using, and I'll check for price.
Okay.
Like I just want to see, like, are we getting like just totally like raked over the coals, like that kind of thing. And also, honestly, checking not only Amazon but competing retailers.
Sure.
Yeah. If it's like, oh, like I can get this for $5 cheaper on the way home, I'll just swing in there or something. Depending on how important it is, and if I'm in a pinch or you know, like trying to get a project done so the flooring guy or the carpet guys can come in and do their thing. It depends. But
talk about when you're shopping online and even when you're shopping in the store, talk about some of the heartache and the fails. Like, I know this is kind of commonplace for any big project. I've done it a million times, pretty much every big project that we've done around our house, where you get something and it's wrong.
Yeah.
The return process, trying to get the right thing. Can you kind of...
Yeah, we've had some experiences.
Yeah. Tell me about those experiences.
With some big things, we've had some big issues. They say something's going to get delivered next week, and then 3 weeks go by and it's still not here. And and having even like a refund process, I mean, there's been some issues with that for sure.
Yeah. And that's at big boxes. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it's been with like washer and dryer, countertops, carpet. We actually canceled the carpet, and I'm still waiting on a refund for that, by the way. And called a local place, and they were able to come in, measure, lay the floor for cheaper, and did all that before they could even process the refund.
Before you even got your refund.
Right.
Wow.
Exactly. So I kind of feel the general contractor pain.
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, I need this in because we've got other stuff coming.
For sure.
And now the schedule's all messed up, and I got to start juggling things.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Even if you're not a pro and you've got 5 projects going on at once and that you're doing it yourself for your own, you still have a schedule to keep, and you've got things that are stacking up.
Yeah.
And right, and we're shooting this right before the holidays, so people have got travel or family coming in and stuff like that. Keeping on schedule is really important, even to the DIYer. It's not just like free reign because it's your project.
Exactly. And if there's like one thing that the big box retailers and really everybody should know is like, it's okay if it's not gonna be here, just tell me at least. Communication, yeah. Like going back, I wish I would have approached it as, what do you have in stock? Like what can you deliver on?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I want to know. I don't need a million options of things. I'd rather have 10 options of something that can be guaranteed, that's in stock and can be delivered.
And that kind of goes to really a change in how people are looking at shopping and looking at projects from post-COVID, post-supply chain issues and shake-up now, where it's like, all right, well, I don't really trust that you're giving me the full picture of what can you deliver on.
Yeah.
I want to be very clear and certain on like, hey, if I order this, am I going to get it?
Yeah.
Am I going to get it on in the time frame that you are promising? So that's a shift, because it used to be, 5-10 years ago, if you're ordering something and they tell you they're going to be there on time, things happen. Right. But generally speaking, you can kind of rely on that. There's been a lot of supply chain turmoil that has led to that, and now people are shopping differently because of that. It's just like, hey, I don't necessarily have to have this color and this thing, but I have to have it by this time period. That's changed things.
Absolutely. It's definitely, if I were to do this again, that's exactly how I would approach it.
Wow.
Like, just tell me what can be delivered and I'll pick from that.
Yeah.
Or then you don't like that selection, you go with someone else, right? But
yeah.
Anywho.
As you were getting into this is the first big project, right? You talked about doing some stuff with your dad and little things here and there, but this is the first like major DIY stuff that you've done. Can you talk about walking into the store for the first time, trying to make decisions, trying to find things? Like, what was that experience like? And include it in online too. Like, what was it like just trying to start this?
In short, a lot.
Yeah.
I had never really spent any time in a hardware store. Walking in and all of a sudden it's just this fluorescent nightmare.
Yeah.
That seems like it's just this ever expansive jungle where, it can be very overwhelming, to say the least. You find finally the plumbing aisle or the electrical aisle or, hand tools or whatever, and then it's like thousands of choices.
Yeah.
And it can be intimidating because, when you haven't done this kind of stuff before, am I getting the right screw for this job? Am I getting the right pipe or type of lumber, or, am I going to put all this stuff together and it's going to fall apart because I didn't have some bracket I didn't realize I need, things like that. And so, it is a lot to process once you're in there,
Were there any particular projects or products where you felt like, okay, this is where I need to spend a little bit more to get like a premium product for this particular project? Were there any ones where you're like, I don't want to go cheap on this, I'm not looking for value, I really want to go premium, and why?
We had talked about pulling up the hardwoods.
Yeah.
Right? So when I first started, I had 2 hammers that were just wood-handled hammers, and I went and bought some cheap pry bars.
Yep.
I broke both hammers and broke 3 cheap pry bars trying to get these hardwoods up.
Wow.
Yeah, I went back. This was a big box store, and I'm like, I cannot skimp on this stuff anymore because I don't want to go run out again. And you could hurt yourself. So I went and I spent the money for a nicer wrecking bar and a nicer steel hammer. And that was really what allowed me to finish that job.
Yeah.
I'd still be working on it if I was using the cheap stuff.
And it looks like you still got 10 digits on the
Yeah,
hands.
exactly. I haven't lost anything. I nicked myself pretty good there, but especially when it comes to anything where there's a potential to like hurt yourself, that's what I guess is a kind of a general rule of thumb. And it even comes to if I got a pair of pliers or something like that I need to put a lot of torque on, busting knuckles is not fun, you know. And so if it's a job where you're either just going to run through tools or there's potential to like hurt yourself or your stuff, you got to spend the money.
Yeah. So it's almost like getting the job done. It becomes more efficient when you're using premium tools or premium products and you're not trying to save money. It almost can save you money in the long run by just doing it more efficiently or doing it right the first time. Is that fair to say?
That's fair. Yeah, it doesn't take long to realize, what jobs, require like quality stuff. There's stuff I'm sure we've skimped on, here and there, but I mean, I've kind of learned that, if I can afford it, spend a few extra bucks.
Yeah.
Get something decent.
As you've kind of learned and made a lot of decisions on purchases, have there been any loyalties and brand loyalties, either retailers or specific products where you're like, I will buy that product again?
Yeah, I mean, the retailer thing kind of goes back to, it's great when I can get some help. That'll drive me back into the door for sure. As far as products go, yeah, I think there's a couple of them now that I've used and never used before.
Yeah.
Where if someone asks me,
Sure.
like, what do I need for this? I'm gonna tell them what I used, and I'm gonna say this is why I did it, and I recommend it. And I have to go out and buy another wrecking bar because it walked away with my brother-in-law accidentally, and I'm gonna go buy the same one. You know what I mean?
That's a good indication that it was a good one. If your brother-in-law,
Well, I don't think
accidentally walked away with it.
I'm not sure if it was
like,
nefarious behavior because he did leave a jam saw and some.
Oh, there you go. He came out even.
Yeah, right.
He came out even. I love hearing stories like that where you are now going to pass that knowledge on. Mm-hmm. You'll inevitably have a friend or a family member or somebody that's going to try a big project on their own, and now you're going to share the knowledge that you've gained through this with them, right? So, and products and things that worked well, things to steer clear of.
There's an example even here over the holidays. I've got a friend who just bought a house.
Yeah.
And he's like, I told him what we were doing and showed him photos and stuff. He's like, man, I have a bar that needs finished.
Yeah.
So get over here. I'll buy, some beer and we'll get this done. I'm like, I pretty much know how to do every step we need now.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you better believe I'm going to be like, hey man, this is what you need.
Yep.
Don't skimp here. Get a good thing here. Someday my daughter, is going to have a first house, and you better believe I'm going to pass on that knowledge, So.
Yeah. For the brands that are watching out there and the retailers that are watching out there, word of mouth is still really important. And as DIYers get into more and more projects, that becomes even more important, right? Because you're expanding and extrapolating how many people are going to use that, your daughter and then her kids, and like it's just going to go on and on. So it's cool to think about how good experiences can really pay dividends down the road, and it's important to invest in those. So let's talk about some of your key takeaways from just doing this project. Anything that you want to add on to just, hey, would we do this again? We feel like we're making a good decision doing this big project.
The confidence and the sense of craftsmanship and accomplishment
Yeah.
that you get for taking on something like this is a rush in itself. And sometimes it feels like you're playing whack-a-mole, or one problem springs up after you try to fix something and you cause another problem. Sometimes it's one step forward, two steps back, but the satisfaction of completing a job and then seeing it all come together, and it's a really special feeling that I'd do it again in a heartbeat.
You guys had a vision for this house when you bought it. You're like, okay, we can see what this could be.
Yeah.
Right. And we're kind of going towards that vision for it. Do you feel like you're getting there?
Yes.
Like that vision is coming to life without too much additional pain that you didn't expect along the way? I mean, there's always some, right? You just can't do a major renovation without having some trying times along the way. But do you feel like you're kind of getting there with what you expected?
It seemed like every day there was something new that was a challenge.
Yeah.
But with all of the resources available, there was never a problem too big. And if it was too big, you just call somebody.
Yeah.
Right. There's been hiccups and bumps in the road and stuff, but the vision is coming together. And I mean, we couldn't be happier about it.
You've done outstanding work. So we got to take a tour earlier and you showed us around and showed us everything that you've done. And I was telling you some of the things like where you've had to repair some drywall and stuff, like I can't tell. All the drywall that I've ever repaired, you can see the outline of it.
Sure, yeah.
Like, you've done a great job. So kudos on a really great project. If there was one thing, like one specific thing that you could share with either manufacturers or retailers, what would you tell them?
That first time DIYers like myself, you're kind of jumping off a cliff and building your wings on the way down.
Yeah.
And it can be really intimidating. And so anything that can help alleviate that, help build the confidence of someone tackling on some of these things, because it can be scary.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, especially when you're living in it And you're having to deal with it every day. It's like, oh my goodness, what if I don't have water? What if I don't have electricity? It can be a little intimidating.
Exactly. Well, we had to push this off because I didn't have water for a few days.
Right?
And you have a schedule like set in mind of when you got to get things done, and anything that can help keep that train on the tracks. Is helpful.
Cool. Well, cheers, buddy.
Cheers, man.
Thanks again for having us. It's been a really great experience, and we appreciate you walking us around your project. You're doing a great job, so keep it up.
Thanks, man. Good seeing you.
So there you have it. As I leave Steve's project house and head back into freezing cold Raleigh, what he said about DIYer confidence is still on my mind. For Steve, it's personal. This isn't a flip or a commercial project. This is home. It's an ambitious project filled with big decisions, learning curves, and tough trade-offs in an economy where everything costs so much more than it used to. Taste in fixtures and countertops may vary, but Steve seems to speak for all DIYers when he says he is looking for ways to move through the retail environment with some assurances that he's choosing the right product for the job, and that he can get assistance if things don't go according to plan. He's more than willing to invest his time, but he's planning projects around a full-time job, so on-time deliveries and staying on schedule matters. He's also conscious of value, and unlike a contractor, he'll be around for years to see how his projects age and how products stand the test of time. Brands that support Steve's willingness to put in the work will be the winners with this new breed of homeowner, as they find ways to make older construction their own. Until next time, stay relentlessly curious, and remember that the best information about how your prime prospect interacts with your brand often comes right from the source. We'll keep solving our biggest marketing mysteries, one beer at a time.